Assalamu alaikum. This is Dr. Sheikh Ubaid from Albany, New York. I'm making this video because of two reasons. Because I'm involved in the front line fighting the coronavirus. And the other thing is, there was a video that I received from the president of ICNA with a very good advice that we should not procrastinate. We know that this pandemic is increasing very fast. If the social distancing would not have been done, then millions of people would have been affected. Even now, it is feared that millions of Americans will get infected and quite a few of those will die. We don't know who's going to survive and who's going to not. I'm not going to create panic because the mortality rate is still very low in this. But I wanted to say some important things. First, I will deal with those aspects about the pandemic and the infection which are not being covered in other videos by our experts that I have seen so far. Then I will deal with this topic of people saying that no, we should go and have congregational prayers. About the first topic about the coronavirus pandemic, this is a viral pandemic. It is different than the pandemic of plague or the epidemics of cholera. The only thing that comes close to it is the 1918 H1N1 influenza pandemic or the Spanish flu pandemic, in which just in a country like India, 18 million to 25 million people died, and 50 million people died in the world. So this is a viral pandemic. Viruses are the tiniest live beings or live particles that exist that we know of. There's another particle that the neurologists deal with called prions, which are not considered live, but viruses are the smallest live particles. And the viruses do not have any cilia or any what we call as foot structures or hair structures that will help them move. So they are dependent on vehicles to carry them. So this particular virus is a respiratory virus. It spreads by droplets. So when we sneeze or when we cough, droplets carrying millions of viruses will spread. And when we inhale it, they will go into our nose, our sinuses, our lungs, etc. And also when they fall on these surfaces, and when somebody else comes and touches surfaces, it gets on their hand, and when they touch their face or nose or eyes, then the viruses will spread to another person. So because we know about this now, we can break this cycle. So I will deal with three aspects. One is survival, and second is defense, and third is flourishing. I mean, for survival and defense, it's very important that we break this cycle. How do we break this cycle? That we do not come in close contact. People who get infected, they must be isolated till their infection goes away. 21 days or more till they are free of the infection. And third is just making sure that we are constantly washing our hands using hand sanitizers, then making sure we wash between the fingers and for 20 seconds with soap and lather. And this virus is a very fragile virus. It can be very easily killed with common soap. So these are the precautions that everybody is talking about. The thing that I want to talk about today is in the defense aspect of it. When somebody gets sick, the whole family is isolated, quarantined in the house. Nobody will be able to go and meet with the person in the hospital. If they are very sick, they will be intubated, and they might very well die. And then when they are dead, many places they will not be released to the family, so the funeral rituals become very difficult, so in this aspect, we should be prepared for them. I mean, have a discussion in the family and have what is called as the advance directive and the healthcare proxy. Make sure that you fill those forms and appoint somebody who will take the decisions when you are incapacitated. For myself, I will say that this particular viral infection is not going to be something which is going to make me, unless very few cases that we are just hearing about, which are very few, so we don't have to worry about that. That's not going to leave me incapacitated like a vegetable for years and years. If I can survive this virus till it goes away from my body, then I will be okay. So for a temporary thing, I will allow myself to be ventilated, to put on the ventilator. But this decision, because I will not be in a position to talk about it, somebody in my family or in my friends should have this. And similarly, advance directive, what type of treatments you want, etc. So this should be covered. Talking to defense, I will also say that just like doctors are exposed and there will be a shortage of doctors and nurses eventually, if this continues, there will also be a shortage of our police officers who are in the front line helping people, going to people's houses, etc. So when there is a shortage of supplies, shortage of food, shortage of medicine, and shortage of police also, there may be also the danger of crime increasing. So it's our obligation to have legal means of defense so that our families are protected. I'm a very big proponent of gun control because I see what guns do to people. I take care of head injuries people. So I don't want people to be carrying military style guns, but you should have guns that will allow you to defend yourself, or the guns if things go very bad. People should have the guns to hunt and to feed their families, etc. So that is one thing that is not being covered. So you should, the advance directive, the healthcare proxy, and the defense, and also have some cash in the house so that you don't have to keep going to the bank, etc. Then have enough supplies lasting for 2 to 3 weeks. Fever and headache medicines and other common medicines, and groceries, etc. So that you don't have to keep going back and forth and keep exposing yourself. In New York, the peak will reach in another 6 weeks. In India, I was just reading a model in India where the government is completely hiding things that 2 million people can be killed in India. And in America, there was a model that was projected, Imperial College model, that if the social distancing was not done, 1.5 to 2 million Americans would have died also. It should be taken very seriously. Again, go and study the pandemic. And the third thing is about flourish. I mean, yes, use this opportunity to flourish in the sense that get close to your family, spend time with the children, talk to them about Islam, about why this is happening. The children may be very worried, especially younger children. The older children who are always busy on social media, if you can spend time with them, and also time on yourself, that we know so little about our own religion and about the world. Muslims are one of the most backward community when it comes to reading. There was a time when all the libraries in the world were in Muslim countries, from Toledo and Cordoba in Spain to Delhi and Bengal and Tajikistan, etc. So when the Mongols came, they destroyed most of these libraries. At one time, we were the people of the books, but now we study and we read so little. So reading about the smallest thing from virus to the huge universe, just that, like the Quran also invites us to ponder about the universe around us, about the things around us. So this is a very good opportunity to not only to go back and learn Quran, study Quran, but also Sira and our history and the universe, from this universe which has more than 200 galaxies, and each galaxy has more than 200 stars, and then many times more planets, etc. Just be in awe of it and try to learn and enjoy the creation of God. And this will also help answer the question that our children have who are leaving Islam in drove. If you ask college-going children, they will say that there is a movement trying to force Muslims out of religion. There is a pressure of Islamophobia, etc. So this is the time to flourish also. Then I have to talk fast, and because law and video people don't watch. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was about this issue of social distancing, of qadar, of saying that, well, if you are destined to die, you are going to die. Why be so worried? Why close the masajid? Brothers and sisters, it is not about you or me. It is not about the individual. I may catch the virus and it may not kill me. I may not even get sick, or I may get sick to a very slight extent, but then I will carry this virus and give it to my older relatives or my younger relatives, or to the bank that I go, or to the grocery store, and kill other people, maybe kill my own family members. Will you be able to live with yourself if you murder people? Ask yourself this. Islam gives the highest priority to saving lives. Everything else must be stopped. I think if the virus continues, even the Hajj will be stopped. And all this focus on the last days and the Hajj, I'm going to deal with another video, because this is getting too long. But just one thing I will say so that you can see where I'm going. I read a book. I'm a neurologist. I trained at one of the best universities in the hospital in the whole world. Not only that, I was a teacher. I was an assistant professor there. So I know a lot about neurology, but I think that I know at least as much about history, because since I was 7, 8 years old, I have been reading history thanks to my parents being interested in that, and the books that we had at home and the discussion that we had. So there was a line that I read when I was 8 years old in the book called Al-Faruq by Shibli Nomani. It is about the life history of Hazrat Umar bin al-Khattab Al-Faruq, the second Khalifa. So as he was liberating huge swaths of land in Syria, in Egypt, and in Iraq and Persia, the Muslim army in Syria gets caught up in an epidemic that has been raging periodically from the time of Justinian, called the Justinian plague. It went on for 300 years. It would come in spurts. And in that, half the army dies by the time Amr bin al-As comes and disperses the army. Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, after whom I am named, who is my hero, one of the greatest Sahabi, he did not disperse the army. Then Muaz bin Jabal, he did not disperse the army. Amr bin al-As. And the line that I remember is that it said by the time this epidemic subsided, half the army, 23 to 25,000, I forgot the number, were dead. This was enough to conquer half of the world. So the Constantinople, which was conquered later by Sultan Muhammad, and the other lands which could not be liberated, all of that could have happened. If Hazrat Umar or Abu Ubaidah bin al-Jarrah or Muaz bin Jabal knew of that, about the virus, how the pandemic and the epidemic spreads, or the bacteria of that time, the plague bacteria, if they had the antibiotics, if they knew that social distancing would save it, would not they have done that? It was not about just yourself. So I will deal with it in another video. But right now, be safe, defend yourself by, trying not to get infected, and by, even if your virus gets on your hands, keep washing it. And if you get infected, God forbid, then keep social distancing. But at the same time, have enough supplies. Be ready with your advance directive and your healthcare proxies, and have legal means of defense in your home. Have some money in the house, and take care of your neighbors. It's good dawah also. It's our responsibility. 40 houses this way, 40 houses that way, this way. All the neighborhood becomes our responsibility. So if we are not sick, if we can take care of them without endangering ourselves, we should take care of that. It's good dawah and good humanity. And also, do not go to the masajid. I will deal with this topic of Ta'un, the plague of Amaus, or the Justinian plague in the next video. Thank you for listening.